So glad you are with us on Your Retirement TV. Brad Johansson alongside Sam and Andi Dual Financial Strategies, and we are thrilled to have you with us. Are you thrilled to be here?
Yeah.
We are thrilled to be here. We are thrilled to be here.
Believe me, they are thrilled to be here. We're thrilled that you are here with us, and we're glad to spend time with you.
Thrilled to be anywhere
as we always do. Hey, putting a plan together is a nasty, nasty thing. At least some people will tell you it is. Actually, it can be a lot more simple and a lot more pleasant. And you will be thrilled to be there to be able to put the whole thing together. We're glad you are with us. I want to talk about maybe what has driven a lot of people into retirement, the idea of saying, this is when I'm going to retire, because you've been given a number. Maybe $1 million? Well, is that antiquated? Whatever number you've been given, I want to start the premise on that. Andi, let me lead with you. If I come up with a number, I've been working for 40 years. I have an idea in my head that when I get here and I get to that number, is the number enough? And you say,
I don't know.
Thank you for that definitive answer.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us,
And we're
everybody.
done this round. Yeah.
I was thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
We come back to all the time is, what does your lifestyle cost? How much does it take for you to survive this next 30 years? Because I don't know what your number is. I don't know how expensive your hobbies are. I don't know how much it's going to cost for you to travel, how much housing is going to cost. But what I do know is that we can take how you're living right now, because the 5 years prior to retirement, you're building how you're going to go into retirement. And for some of you, it's a very easy transition. For others of you, it's a little bit more difficult. What we have to establish is what number do you need on a monthly basis, because that's how you've planned your life, is basically on a monthly basis, because you had paychecks coming in every 2 weeks, every month, and that's how you existed, was to, okay, this is how much money I have on a monthly basis. So instead of thinking about it in 30 years, which can be pretty overwhelming, let's break it down into its simplest form. Let's continue that. But we're going to have to put some thought into how much is your lifestyle going to change before you retire to after you retire. You're going to have more time to fill. So what are you going to do to fill that time? Is it you're going to meet with your colleagues that you used to work with once a week to go have lunch? Is it traveling for grandkids? Is it working a part-time job because you miss the social environment of it? Is it vacationing with your husband? I don't know. So those are the things that we have to look at. So I'm not trying to be challenging and saying I don't know, but for everybody's number, it's a little bit different because your lifestyle is all different. You're snowflakes. You're all different. So when it comes down to planning, we have to look at that reality and say, okay, this is my monthly cost. Maybe we're going to sprinkle in a fun vacation. Maybe we need a new roof. Maybe we need to deal with some of the unfun things or buy a new car. Again, I don't know, but we have to look at all of those pieces of the pie so that we can establish, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how much pressure that we're going to put on your retirement monies. Then we come back to Sam's book. What is the purpose of that money? Again, what does your lifestyle look like? That's going to dictate what kind of pressure we need to put on things. And is that possible? What kind of interest do you need to make out there to keep that going so that maybe you're just using the cream off the top instead of having to tap into the principal? I don't know. But there again.
What you're saying is the number, Brad, does not create behavior. The number can be a goal.
Sure.
But what behavior are we going to be able to enjoy or elicit because of that number? So the number is the number, right? And you cannot change an outcome. Even with a good plan, you're not going to change the outcome. We just have to have a plan that will work within a relatively known set of parameters to try to not control the outcome, but to deal with the outcome as it happens. But if you have the plan in place, now you have something that's actionable. Because the problem with the number, again, is that the number is not executable, okay? You're not going to execute a number.
Yeah. Because
we see this all the time. I see this, one of the things that, and this, I have to admit, this makes me giggle. Because some of you, and it's guys, okay? Some of you guys are out there, and you literally have a little fold-over notebook that you've carried in your pocket at work for the last 35 years, and you've written down the value of your 401k twice a day for the last 35 years with absolutely no actionable, executable plan behind it at all. It's like, what difference in the world does it make what your 401k was worth at 2:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday 17 years ago? It makes no difference. So it's not about a number. It's about a plan. It's about executing a plan. It's about understanding who you are, where you are, and what you are so that you can enjoy your retirement. So you can't just look at the number.
Well, I think you guys have both talked about it. We can have a client come in who brings us $10 million.
Yep.
And the way that they are spending, we might have a problem.
Yep.
And somebody comes in with $1 million, and you go, you know what? The way you want to live, I think this is going to be okay.
Yeah.
So the number kind of is irrelevant if we're not strategizing about the things that we're doing with that number, and yet we are told to hit a number.
Because you know what the common denominator between those two people are? 10 million, 1 million, 500,000. They all have one common denominator, and that is every one of them is afraid they're going to run out of money.
Yeah.
Every one of them is afraid they're going to run out of money, regardless of how much money they have. So that's the reason why you have to have that plan. Because if that's my fear, your number is irrelevant. The solution is the number sustainable? Is the number, in regard to income, sustainable relative to the number in regards to your savings? That's what you're trying to figure out here. So if you haven't figured that out, I don't care how many times a day you wrote down the value of your 401k over the last 35 years, it has zero relevance to what you're going to do. And just quickly to address this, because we hear this all the time too, the number of people that will come in and be like, I feel like I need to get $1 million. Why?
That's what they're hearing in the media.
That's what they're hearing in the media. That's what they heard Sue Zorman say one time, because she's the one that penned this thing. It's like, yeah, you have to have $1 million average to retire. Maybe if you live in New York, but most of the folks living in Kimberly get by just fine, thank you very much, with the $700,000 that they saved. So don't fashion or don't concentrate and focus what you need on what somebody in a studio in New York says you need, because it's not even remotely relevant.
And I think if you're so hyper-focused on that, then potentially you're going to put way too much pressure to take way too much risk on your portfolio, which is then going to put you in a position where you could lose greater when the market
It's just not, and all of it's not relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to losing in a second. So I want to put this up before we go to break. It is dualriskquiz.com. We use these quite often because it's helpful for you if you scan the QR code to try and figure out what is your risk level. And as I said, I want to talk about losing money safely when we come back, but I want to stay on this for a moment to have you get an understanding. Look, in these moments, sometimes when we put these tools together, they are for education, but they are also for you to have a little bit more confidence in knowing the things that you weren't sure actually mattered going in for the next 30 years. A lot of times we just don't know the questions to ask. This risk quiz will help you and help you monitor the amount of risk that you feel right now that you're comfortable with. And then maybe we need an understanding of how the plan is going to align with how you feel on your risk. Then you will call the number, which is 866-203-7486. That puts together a retirement lifestyle review for you. You're going to be different than everybody else, and your risk isn't going to be the same. As a matter of fact, in your own household, you may be living with someone who has a very different risk tolerance or capacity than you do. So how do we work that all together? It's within the Retirement Lifestyle Review. 866-203-7486. How do we lose money safely? We'll talk about it when we come back.
I started in banking and was always pretty good at saving myself. And I think people out here have a much greater savings mentality, and they don't tend to live beyond their means. They will, live in the same house, drive the same car for a long time. They
are much more forward thinking, but for the most part, it's a very different philosophy about saving money and being prepared for retirement. I got frustrated working at the banks because the banks would tell me what I could and couldn't do, and that was a big frustration for me, is being told that I couldn't use something that was more appropriate for my clients. And so I ended up leaving banking and going out as an independent salesperson, and then took quite a while to get enough gumption up to start my own gig. But I guess I just felt like somebody needed to be out there helping and protecting people, especially women, from advisors that were not as upstanding as they should have been.
Glad you're with us on Your Retirement TV. Brad Johansson along with Sam and Andi Duel. And we're talking about how you do this whole thing, this retirement thing, and in moving into a risk format that is comfortable for you. So we put up dualriskquiz.com. Scan the QR code while we're talking about this. I left you at break saying we're going to talk about losing money safely. And I set that up, you guys, because scare tactics as we get to this, and maybe even and I apologize if there's a feeling on this program that we do that. And it is not for fear-mongering. It is for education. But you can get the feeling, okay, I'm approaching this age. That means I've got to get conservative. Mm-hmm. So I've really got to change everything about that. Is that too broad a statement to say that when you hit an age, you got to change the way you think about this whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Again.
It's massively too broad. Yeah. It's such a gross generalization.
Okay, well, bring it down to me. Where do I need to be in thinking about that as people are scanning this QR code and trying to figure out the risk quiz?
Well, I would say the first thing people have to think about is conservative relative to what? Okay. And conservative relative to yourself. It's like, what does conservative mean to you? I think the first thing you have to do is you have to define conservative. What does conservative mean to you? Because it means something different to everybody that's out there. So now you've defined, okay, what does this mean to you? I need you to explain to me what you mean by conservative, because we get this question all the time. Vast majority of you that come in say, hey, Sam, Andy, Lake, Luke, I'm like 62 now, and my 401k statement or my broker's telling me you need to be starting to get more conservative. Well, I look at that, and I hate to be flippant about these things, but I'm just trying to give you guys an alternative thought process on this as to how to frame these thoughts in your mind. It's like, first of all, how are you too aggressive? And secondly, conservative relative to what? So think about that to begin with, because being conservative, look, the challenge is not short-term volatility, because most people's definition of being conservative would be, okay, I'm in the market.
Right.
And I need to be more conservative. I need to be not so much in the market. And the reason why people get concerned is because it's volatile. It's going up and down. But short-term volatility is not the problem. Long-term erosion is the problem. Short-term volatility will not generally erode your long-term use of that money. But getting too conservative from the very beginning, I'm just going to do money markets and CDs. That's all I'm going to do. Well, now we have just put a block in place. We put a limiting factor in place that says, okay, we now are going to erode this over time because we are now spending an asset that is earning less than what your spend ratio is. So you need to think about long-term erosion when you're thinking about conservative and risk rather than short-term volatility.
You wanted to make a point, Andy.
Well, I mean, I think this goes back to these age-old sayings that come about.
Yes.
Oh, the rule of 100. So many people come from that, or don't worry, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, or you're not going to make as much money.
That age of 100 is so worn out.
It's so worn out.
So worn out.
But I've yet to meet somebody who wants to take a significant pay cut when they retire. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I just can't wait. I'm just going to spend $50,000 less. I mean, it's like, you have come to this point, you enjoy your life, and so you don't want to necessarily give up a chunk of money, so you're going to be in another tax bracket. And, to what we've been talking about through most of our shows, taxes are something we have to deal with, contend with. You can plan for them, and you should, and we should spend some great time doing that. But the rules can change, and right now they're pretty favorable. So what can we do within that, period of time before they change them again? But yes, it does get really frustrating to us, to me, when we sit with people that are like, well, but I was told. By whom?
Well, I think that's the difficult part sometimes. I believe that people are. I believe that people are grateful
Yeah.
that we basically kind of force them to go into a logical, events-based, factual thought process, which I believe is why we get the comment so many times is, wish I would have met you guys 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody has ever challenged them to think about these things critically and to think about them without sales pressure, to think of them without sales bias, to think about these things without the opinion of, your aunt or whatever the case might be. You are now thinking independently and critically about what matters to you. But yes, can you lose money safely? You can absolutely lose money safely. So you just got to think about these things and decide, what does it mean to you?
Okay, so if I'm doing that, that would lead me to a diversification question.
Yes.
Well, my portfolio is pretty diversified. You're going to tell me that I probably need to look in diversification beyond what I have in the market. And that may be the first thing. Forgive me if I'm jumping ahead. But the idea of, am I diversified with the money in the market? Or now, as I move into a different, rather than accumulation, distribution stage, is my diversification that I have purpose for the placement
Yes.
of my money? Meaning that this isn't the only place that I go, and my portfolio now kind of widens well beyond the market, that I have different places to lose money safely. Is it fair to say?
Possibly. I mean, I think the other thing that we run into often is you look at your statement and there's, so many different places that you can be. You've got target date retirements, you've got stocks, you've got bonds, you've got these different places. But what we find when we run some of the tool software that we do, Riskalyze and whatnot, we find that the correlation matrix tells us that you are absolutely
Not
primarily
diversified.
just in one area. And
Yeah.
so you have all these different mutual funds primarily, because that's what's primarily used in your 401ks, 403bs, 457s. And yet they all are basically in the same bucket. And so if the market goes down, you go down. And so, yeah, it's the illusion of diversification. When we're talking about diversification, we're talking about different asset classes.
Mhm.
And so how do we strategically, again, with purpose, what are we trying to accomplish with your money is going to dictate what we're ending up using, because there are way different tools that you can use on the spectrum that aren't just market-based accounts. And so, are we looking for preservation? Are we looking for income? Are we looking for, flexibility? Whatever it is, it's the illusion of diversification that we often find in your accounts when we run our software on it, and it's very apparent.
And before you ever even get to the diversification part of it, what are you trying to diversify into or away from? This is where we coined this phrase, the illusion of diversification, specifically geared towards mutual funds, because that's what they do. They just give the illusion that you're somehow magically diversified because you own 15 of them.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's like 6 things that you can do in the market that I can invest in. This is asset classes, okay? Real estate, commodities, stocks, bonds, all of those sorts of things. And then there's all of these subsets. So if I'm investing in a stock, what kind of stock am I investing in? Is it a small cap growth stock? Is it a mid cap, kind of middle of the road stock? Is it a large cap stock that's providing me income via dividends? Which one is this? So there's a multitude of things, which is why you have to determine the purpose before you start talking about the placement on it. But all of these things start to overlap and they start to intersect. So you have to determine and this is our job, this is what you're paying us to do, is to determine what are the right tools for the job. So you said that you want to have income. You want to make sure that your Social Security is being supplemented via a personal pension to the tune of X number of dollars a month. Okay, cool. Now we have a purpose. We know what to do with it. So I'm not going to probably recommend that you put that into small cap foreign stocks, because that does not fit the job. It's like if I need to go out and cut down a tree, it's like you can take a shovel out there and do it if you want to. You're going to be there a while, because that is not the tool for doing that job. So you have to determine what is the job before we can determine what is the tool. But you also have to be working in a non-biased, I don't know the proper way to put this, but just non-biased, where your advisor isn't forced to do anything at all. It's like they don't have a quota to meet from American funds because American funds is paying soft dollars to the company that's signing your paycheck.
Working in your best interest.
You've got to be
rather
working
than the
in your
company's.
best interest on that sort of thing. And that is not to say, this whole banner of fiduciary gets bandied about a lot, okay? And I think people get a very, very...
Jaded?
They get a jaded thought on it. I think there's also misconceptions about fiduciary.
Okay.
Fiduciary just says that you have to do what's in the client's best interest. But you will never, ever meet, us included, you will never meet an advisory firm that does not have some level of a conflict of interest, okay? Because it's unavoidable. The reality is they just have to disclose that to you. If they're being compensated for something, for doing something, then you just have to disclose that. It's like if we're what we call a hybrid advisory firm. So we are a fee-based financial advisory firm as far as the market's concerned, but we also, everybody in our office is licensed to do fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, all of life insurance plans, long-term care, all of that sort. We're licensed to do all of that sort of stuff. So if we are recommending that, it just has to be disclosed to say, look, you need to understand how I'm getting paid on this, okay?
Yeah.
If you want to do that over there, you're going to pay me 1.35% a year to do that, okay? If you want to do this over here, I'm going to get paid a commission for that.
Yeah.
This insurance company is going to pay me X amount of commission up front. And so legally, my allegiance is to that insurance company that's issuing that annuity. Most people don't know that. But I just have to disclose it and say, it is. They're going to pay me. So then at least if you're informed, you can make an intelligent decision on it. But absent that disclosure, now all of a sudden, again, you're just dealing with products. So instead of sitting out there and saying, look, this is what this thing is designed to do. This is what that's designed to do. This is that type of an asset class. It should give us this. Now you can look at this and say, oh, okay, I see. I see how that works. So if I really want growth, I could take a portion of my portfolio over here. I could drop that into the stock market, and we could get some pretty good growth on it. And then if I want to have some sort of stability and make sure I'm not going to erode my principal because of the market, then I could use this tool over here, and then we could use something else in the middle, and then all of a sudden, we see the lights come on. We call it the aha moment. When the lights come on, and you're starting to realize, you go, okay, I see how this works.
Yeah.
This is just all going to dovetail together, and each individual portion has its purpose.
Yep.
So we're not going to lose money safely. We're not going to lose money because we're crazy, stupid, risky. We're going to do it within the confines of what your risk capacity is, and then just use the proper tools. And if advisors would do that, Brad, this industry would be so much better for it. If they would just be upfront with people and say, you should do this. I'm not telling you have to do this. If you do that, I'm going to make money. Whether you do it or not is irrelevant to me because it's your retirement money. But here's what I think you should do. And you should give them choices. You should give them a palette to work off of. And then just say, what would you like for me to do?
Sam jumped on a soapbox, Levi, so we're not even going to go to break. We're just going to hang here for a minute. I want you guys to be able to call 866-203-7486, and with purpose, because there is passion in trying to figure out how you do this the right way. So we'll have that number up for you. Hopefully you've scanned the quiz, but we're going to hit the exchange. We've talked about this in previous shows that Sam joined me on my national show, the Wealth Council, that runs 1 p.m. Central every Sunday on Fox Business. Hope that you will join us, be able to see Sam on national TV as well. We do this segment called The Exchange. So in our remaining moments that we have here, 3 topics, 2 advisors. Let's hit it in rapid fire. 3 topics. Let's begin. Andy, one thing that RMDs change immediately.
Tax brackets, potentially. So if you are bumping up against a tax bracket and now you have to take an RMD, that can throw you over and put more money into a higher tax bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, that's a simple
Taxes.
solution. You have anything to add?
Well, I mean, the secondary portion of that to taxes is Social Security taxation.
Yep.
Social Security is taxed one of 3 different ways. You either pay no taxes on Social Security, you pay it on half of Social Security, or you pay it on 85% of Social Security. And that's all based upon the income that you have coming in. So you theoretically, if you have not planned for this, you could be taxed on 50% of your Social Security for a long time, and then all of a sudden, because there were mistakes made or nobody ever told you this, you get to required minimum distribution time. Now you're paying taxes on 85% of your Social Security.
Okay, affected immediately, and you should have planned for it about 10 years ago. Okay,
Yes.
True or false in our second topic? Women often spend more in years in retirement than men.
True.
More time, yes.
We live longer, so therefore we're going to probably spend more.
So,
Well, they spend more time in retirement.
Yeah, because you need to spend
Yeah,
money to
statistically,
live.
women live longer than men.
okay, so they will spend more in retirement than men.
Yeah,
How does that adjust, and what should we be paying attention to if that's a fact?
Well, I think decisions that you're making early on need to be
yeah.
very well addressed. We've talked previously on this show about how you need to make Social Security claiming decisions early on based upon that reality that we want to make sure that that life expectancy is accounted for.
Very quickly, last topic, one issue that heirs are most unprepared for. Go.
Taxation on IRAs. The rule, I mean, that was the Secure Act.
100%, yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's a good
Secure
one.
Act 2.0 changed those laws in a very quick little.
Stretch rule went away.
Yep, stretch went away. And so
Have to
now
take
you
it out in 10 years.
in 10 years or less. So you either pay the big whammy in taxes, which changes your kid's tax bracket for a couple of years, or they've got to trickle it out, which can still change their tax bracket on an annual basis. So yeah, I think taxation was the biggest hit.
That's a big one.
Anything to add? Or are you good?
I would say probably the secondary portion to that is mismanaging large amounts of money that you receive. And large amount of money is relative because, and I would say this to parents, because you've got $1 million in your IRA. Kids don't, and they may not never have $1 million. So all of a sudden you give $500,000 to two kids that you only have $50,000 saved. That to them is a lifelong fortune that cannot ever be spent. But we do know that the national average is about 17 months. Is how long second generation
Inheritance,
money lasts.
yeah.
We're playing together. That's what they do at Dual Financial Strategies, is put a complimentary written lifestyle review. Call the number, 866-203-7486, to set up an appointment for your retirement lifestyle review. So much to think about. It is complicated, and yet it is simplified when the plan is put together and it's your plan. Thanks for being with us. Can't wait to see you in the office and put your plan together, and we'll be right back here next time on Your Retirement TV.